high-pitched cry for help by Problematic_Lana on AO3. Chapter 7. The plan is to care. On the other side of the city, in a nice, cozy apartment, is a nice neighbor there with 3 men with sour faces, discussing work matters, kind of. I would love to just remove him from his house, Eraser, but you know it's not that simple. I understand, but that could even be used in court, right? Matted hair doesn't happen from a day to another, and I could testify seeing him out late a time, multiple times. The room went silent for a minute, all adults present, wishing to resolve this easily. Sho, I get that this is frustrating, but getting the kid out, not knowing for sure if he could stay out, could make it worse. Right. His husband was right, and by the expression on his face, he also knew that he was having a hard time just like him. Child neglect cases are always hard for both of them. Both of them having rough childhoods made them want to help in any way they could. However, at times, it was just not that easy. Our best course of action would be to get some evidence of abuse or neglect first, Tsukuichi said, breaking the tense atmosphere once again. And that way we can avoid a he said versus she said kind of situation. I saw the kid for weeks, and I was just now able to see him up close. He sighed. There is no way I will be able to get evidence from him, especially now that I scared him away. The detective had to admit it was a hard situation. Kid cases most of the time didn't have a happy ending, and the probability of the kid ending in the system was high, assuming the parents didn't actually get away with it. The system was never kind to kids either. Most of the time couples wanted to adopt babies, and those kids that are a bit older just grew up in foster homes. How about this? I can open up a case if you report it first. That seemed to catch their attention. But that would mean you would have to follow the case, make a statement, and possibly go to court. The blonde looked a bit conflicted. Aizawa usually didn't get to follow cases at all, and he was afraid that this one would take a toll on his mental health if it went too far. But he also knew that this kid already meant something for him, and that he never backed down from a fight. I'll do it. Both the men smiled. It was to be expected. What about the public records? Nothing. There's no evidence of any mute kid living there. Even more, that house hasn't been lived in for months now. Didn't find any mute kid with those descriptions either, nor with some type of quirk that could make sense in this scenario. Any missing kids? Said the blonde, stress palpable in his every movement. Also, no. In the last residence, maybe they know him or... That is not public records. Oh. The 3 stood there, coffee in hand, and words settling in. The kid didn't have a name yet, and was already causing problems. What would even happen to him while they collected said evidence? Lord knows how long he had been uncared for, or what he had been through. He still didn't even know how or since when the kid knew his eyes could glow red, and the implications of him being in some type of altercation was not so good. What if he wasn't even mute? There was a possibility of him just knowing sign language, or that he just imagined it in the heat of the moment. Very unlikely. If only he had pushed the matter a little harder and sooner. If he had tried to get closer to the kid, or tried to get him to ask for help. Maybe if he had just given back a paper with questions, or taken his drawings as something serious. If he had paid attention to... A hand in his thigh made him come back to earth, his husband rubbing calming circles with his fingers. A sympathetic smile was all he needed to focus again. Damn, he really loved this man. Even knowing that this affected them both, Hisashi was always there for him. The radio host was mostly frustrated for not being able to help in any capacity. Well, he didn't even know how his little listener looked, and still, he would be there as long as he could, lending a shoulder for his partner. He had to focus now. No more ifs. They didn't even notice the intimate of the moment they were having, making the poor detective a witness of some kind of heated stare contest. He pretended to cough. That would be less embarrassing than asking them to get a room. Less funny, though. What we can do for now. Once the awkwardness was gone, he continued, is take a statement from you with my lie detector quirk. That should be enough to ask for a deeper investigation. I will suggest for me to watch the kid in order to further confirm where he is staying at and what he is doing. They both nodded. There was a lot he didn't know. The information he had was limited to those nights he had patrolled, and so he couldn't give a precise answer of what happened during the day. Maybe we could ask schools around the area. A green kid like that should be easy to identify. God, Hisashi could be smart when he wanted it. If any school identifies him, they'll be liable for not reporting it. Sikuichi added. So it's possible they will hide it to maintain their image. And God, did that break a heart. He said it so matter-of-fact, like it was only logical to guess that this was not the detective's first encounter with a horrible school environment. At least now they had a plan. Green Rescue, as the loud blonde named the mission. During the next few days, Izuku was busy. As busy as a 6-year-old could be, anyways. He wasn't stupid. He could see that Eraserhead had sent someone to investigate. What they were investigating was still a mystery yet. He was so very hungry, and he would eventually have to go out for food. And so he did. He waited until it was a day where the hero was not supposed to be there, and he also went to a different hour of his usual schedule. He wished he could go whenever, but the trash collector went there first thing in the morning. So his best option was to go there late at night, to avoid any weird stares. Except, this time, he felt a very obvious pairs of eyes following him. Izuku knew the 3 best dumpsters near his home like the palm of his hand. And he also knew that they were well hidden from the general public to give the neighborhood a better look. Therefore, a tall man with a coat and hat just randomly being near them both times he went to look for supplies was a thing that, generally, someone as cautious as him would notice. He knew the man was watching. The man knew Izuku knew he was watching. They both saw each other and said nothing. At first, the boy thought the man was going to try something funny on him, being that the reason why he would always take what he needed and leave as quickly as possible. But he discarded the idea on day 2. Then he thought it was one of those people that gather at night in alleyways to sell or buy sugar, but he also threw that idea away. The man was too neat for that, and he'd settled on the idea of him being a detective, one that would want to make it clear that Izuku was being watched every time he left the nasty apartment. The green-haired kid was reasonably scared of the police. Thoughts of being arrested for his curse soon turned into nightmares that wouldn't let him sleep. Perhaps it was time for Izuku to let go of the place he called home, even if he didn't have anywhere else to go. Maybe the old lady Nami would want to take him in? But then again, she was really old, and probably already had enough struggles being quirkless herself. Izuku couldn't even fathom the idea of bringing harm to her. That exact night that Izuku planned to leave his hideout was the same night that everything would change. Alright, time to talk about notes. And as always, we're going to start from the beginning and then towards the end. So, I really like the idea that both Shouta and Hisashi have childhood trauma. I like that very much. So this is a very dear case to them. It's really close to their heart because they see themselves in Izuku in some way, shape, or form, or can sympathize and, in a way, know his struggles. And I love that. I also just love Eraserhead interaction here. The whole comforting each other. It's just so sweet, it's so nice, it's so domestic, and I absolutely love it. I love little, I know a lot of people probably, love rom-coms or romantic stuff in the sense of, oh, character A did a huge grand gesture for character B. I love these little moments. I love the moments where character B is just getting lost in their thoughts, and character A just does a simple little, circle of the hands, smooth, or just a thumb gently moving, on their knee or something, right? And that brings the character back. Or something as simple as holding the hand, and it's, I am a sucker for those. I want to know, what do you guys like more in romantic stuff? Like, would you appreciate a romantic film that didn't have those big grand gestures and instead had all these small little moments? Or would you like a film that's, big and grand gestures, or like a typical rom-com, basically? I personally think a mixture of both would probably be good. Don't get me wrong. Just cute small gestures the whole time. Love that. But like, having cute small gestures with like one grand gesture here and there would also be nice. That's cute and stuff. Obviously one is more realistic than the other. And one is more... Well, one speaks volumes of like puppy love or honeymoon romance love kind of thing, like the very passionate, like, oh, love, like when people think of love, they think that type of love, right? But like the other one speaks more of love, which is the actual love, the calm explosion, the soft waves, the soft murmurs, the actual love, in my opinion. Talking about love, me and Cielo, in our podcast, we talked about love, and we talked about what I think about love, and because Valentine's Day love, but all right, next one. So their whole meeting about helping Izuku and stuff like that is really making me think that's probably gonna happen around chapter 10. I'm saying chapter 10, but watch me be wrong. I really hope it's chapter 10. Hopefully I'm wrong in the sense that it happens sooner, not that I'm wrong in the sense that it happens, later. I also really love when we have a smart Hisashi. Like, Hisashi being smart, like, for example, him being like, oh yeah, like, let's, see with the schools, right? I love smart Hisashi. I will die on this hill for smart Hisashi. I always love it when it is implemented because, like, dude, he's such, like, I know people treat him like a side character, but, like, I want smart Hisashi. I want, flirtatious, then, like, cool, calm down Hisashi. Like, I love Hisashi. Okay, so, I want to talk about Izuku's observational skills. Because, like, oh my god, for a kid his age, his observational skills are wonderful. But that, again, speaks about his trauma. The fact that he's so observational speaks so much about how he probably has trauma, and he has that because of trauma. Obviously, he had to be observational in his own home. He had to make sure he knew who was there, who wasn't, what is that, what is this, is somebody watching me, is somebody not. Because that is how he didn't get hurt as much, right? It's why when, like, people are saying, like, oh yeah, like, somebody could walk past my door and I know whose footsteps those are. Yeah, that's trauma. That's childhood trauma. That's trauma in some way, shape, or form. There's a reason why your brain is so perspective of that and knowing who's walking past and stuff like that. Like, small stuff and details like that. I love when they add small details like that. So far, Lana, you're doing a really good job with that. Like, I think that really conveys Izuku's, what's it called? Trauma, Izuku's whole thing of like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. And it's not even just in kids. Sometimes adults start to garner that after like a really traumatic event. Specifically, like let's say they were in an abusive relationship. The one who escapes, obviously the victim, will become more observant and more skittish, I guess. Is the better way to say it. I also want to talk about how Izuku says sugar. Sells and buys sugar. Ugh, that line hurt. That line hurt so much. Ugh, I don't want to cry, but that line hurt. And it hurt because okay, so this is a really good writing style and I want to talk about it. I don't remember what the actual term for this is called, but it's contrast, basically, I think is what it's called. Where, okay, we have something that is so, sweet. Not sweet, but like childish, like sugar, right? And then we pair it with something like selling drugs. And it just hits you that much. The contrast of it hits you like a fucking train. The whole like, oh yeah, selling and buying sugar. It is so sweet and naive. While at the same time, it's like you're viewing this as a child and it's like it really hits you in the perspective of this is a kid. This is a kid, as smart and as brilliant and as survival, instinctual Izuku is, he is a kid. And small little moments like this remind you of that. He is not some teen. No, he is a child. a kid who doesn't even understand the concept of drug dealers. And it hurts. It hurts. Also, that ending, the whole, like, you know, before everything changed, or before things change, like, what do you mean? I'm scared. What do you mean by that? I am petrified. What do you mean by that? What do you mean before things change? What changes? What happens? And I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm rightfully scared. I know y'all are scared. I'm scared. Those who have read ahead, you're probably cackling because you're like, oh, I know what's gonna happen. Either that or you're like, yeah, you have a right to be scared. If so, goddamn. But, yeah. As always, my rain jobs. Make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.